and welcome back to Weavy Kids. On this beautiful, bright but brisk spring morning, we are out and about to collect some lovely new foliage and some new buds to use in our clay tile project today.
Remember, you don't have to go far to collect some beautiful foliage, and it doesn't have to be complicated or difficult. Remember also to look at the ground. Birds nesting at this time of year often leave many gifts behind for us. With a few pieces collected and your walk complete, it's time to head home. For this project, you will need some natural or air-dry clay, some cardboard, back of a cereal box is fine, some scissors and a pencil and a ruler, a rolling pin, a butter knife, one without too sharp an edge if you're working with young ones, a wet cloth, I've put mine inside a Tupperware there with water, a dry cloth for cleaning, and an apron is really useful for working with clay. I've also got a couple of pokey sticks for pushing holes through my pendants, and I'm working on a tile. I like to work on a tile because I can lift it off the table once I'm done and leave my clay to dry on it. If you don't have something like this, perhaps you could just use a tray or a plate or something similar. Also, you're going to need a small amount of water and of course your nature finds. It's also helpful to have a wire clay cutter. Now, not everybody has this, therefore you can also use some florist's wire or thin wire, fishing wire, or even just a piece of thread. So let's go! Taking your cereal box and using some of your square edges to help you, you're going to mark out a square. Mine was 12 centimetres, but you can make it whatever size you feel you would like your tile to be. Next, cut it out. This handy template has a number of purposes. Now prepare your clay by taking a fist-sized piece. Knead it between your hands and fingers and slowly move it out into a square-like shape, but making sure that your edges don't become too thin. Next, take your rolling pin and start to flatten the surface of your clay, checking now and again against your template to see how you're doing. Notice I roll in two directions, and I'm trying really hard to keep the pressure even and not to roll off the ends and make them too thin. Ideally, you don't want your clay any thinner than ½ centimetre. Once you reach your template size, use your pokey stick or a pencil to mark out your shape. And then use your butter knife to cut along your edges and remove them. Remember to take any of the excess clay, ball it up together and put it back into a packet. You can always use an old bread packet for this. It's important to do this so you can use those pieces for other projects in the future. Leaving it on the side, it will just dry and go to waste. Next, take your chosen items and decide which one you'd like to work with first. Make sure it fits by removing anything excess to your needs. Then lay your item down into the clay, pressing it in gently. Once you're happy with the layout, take your handy template and lay it down gently on top of your items. Take your rolling pin and roll softly over the top. Then remove your template and your natural object. If needed, use a pokey object to help you remove any pieces that are stuck in the clay. Next, collect your wire or thread and wrap it round the ends of your fingers and then slide it along underneath the base of your tile. This is a much more effective way of doing it than using a knife, where you might end up with a very uneven base to your tile. Clean off the wire each time. Carefully lift your tile and move it to the side whilst you wipe up. A clean work surface is so much better and makes it easier to pick up other pieces in the future. If you'd like to make some pendants for use on necklaces, key rings, or simply as decorations, you use exactly the same technique, only you can choose what size and shape of clay it is that you use. If you don't feel confident just to cut a shape, perhaps you could use a cookie cutter or a jar lid like I do here. These will give you predetermined shapes to cut around. Or if you're feeling confident, freehanding it is entirely okay too. In order to make sure that you can turn these into pendants, take a pokey stick and push it all the way through your clay, making sure it's not less than ½ centimetre from the top. Smooth all your edges by taking a tiny dot of water on your finger and simply rubbing over all of your edges. Or if you like a more organic shape and a rustic look, then you don't have to worry so much about your edges, like on this one. You could also choose to label on the back of your clay, write words of hope or names, and it's always nice to put a date so you can look back in the future to when you made them. Lay all your work together so you can clear your space and tidy away. And then lay them out on a cool flat surface to dry. Now, with your clay being a minimum of 1/2 centimetre thick, it's going to take a day or two for these to dry. Thicker pieces may even take up to a week or more. With air-dry clay, it's also really important to let it dry at its natural pace. Don't try and rush it by placing them over a radiator. This will simply cause your clay to warp, bend and crack. So have some patience, they will dry. In the first day or two, especially for your tile, I would recommend that you go and check that they aren't warping. Before the clay is too dry is when you would be able to flatten it back down again. Once they are fully dry, you can string them up with twine or ribbon and put them up for display. I really like the natural finish of the air-dried clay, but if you would like something more glossy, wait till your pieces are thoroughly dried and then take 3 parts normal PVA crafting glue to 1 part warm water and mix together. Apply with a paintbrush onto your pieces and leave to dry. Alternatively, if you would like to add colour to your pieces, you are best off first of all applying a gesso primer. This is a layer that goes underneath and seals your clay before you apply your paint. Acrylic paints tend to work best on top of the primer and give you a wide range of colours. However, feel free to explore and try whichever paints it is that you have at home. And here we have 3 of our pendants hanging on a stick we found in the park. It can be as simple as that. I hope you've enjoyed this resource and that we see you again sometime soon. Bye from Weeby Kids!